In this video, I will show you how to put together this 3D red apple box, which is an SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. Something fun and simple you can make for the teachers out there. So I wanted to do a simpler polygonal apple because I thought it would be something simpler that somebody can make in 3D for maybe, you know, several of them if they're doing several teacher gifts or appreciation or something like that. So this one, just the lid comes off. So we have that. The lid comes off, and then it's not like ultra, but like it'll hold things, so it'll hold some candy and everything. And you can put a gift card, but it really will only fit sideways. So if you want it to comfortably fit it, you can resize it all up just a little bit more. But this is, I was just thinking some little gifts in there, but sideways it won't really fit it that well, but you can try to angle it in if you want to use it for that. But I'd say if you want to use a gift card, you want to go point to point that way. But I'm going to show you how to put this together. So I'll put that one aside. And I just want to do some simpler 3D. I have a 3D apple out there, but it's not as simple. So we're going to go ahead and fold this and get this started. So as you can see, I'm just going around and folding it. It's going to be simpler for the top one, but here's the way it folded. You can see. You just want to get that all prepped, including these little side tabs. So these are the lids. This piece goes to the bottom piece. So let's go ahead and do that. And then these two little ones. So this is a little embellishment bowl, which is a freebie on our website. I like to keep smaller pieces in there. So this is for, this is for the, that's for the lid. And this will be the little stem and the leaves for the lid as well. So let's go ahead and do the bottom piece first. So you have it folded like this with all these tabs folded in. And typically, I do have a little tear in this, but I'm not recutting it for the purposes of this video because you can't really tell. If you do have that, you can kind of slightly glue it together. I had moved it and accidentally tore it when I moved it. But you want to go ahead and pre-fold it. Then I made this a little bit simpler than most of my 3D because I realized that people are making a lot of gifts for back to school. So I want to make sure this is something that's easy to be made. So we have, I typically don't omit tabs, but it's not going to decrease the strength of the box. So we skip a tab here, and we're just going to glue this top tab, lining this edge up to the tab fold. So if you're new to 3D, this is a good, pretty fast thing to put together. So we're going to just go around and glue these tabs the same way. And always say that just to have like a wet paper towel to get excess, any kind of excess glue off or anything like that. Just, it's a damp. It's not like wet. So line that up. So we're just going to go around and get these tabs in. You know, I think teachers, they're really important, so we need to be able to gift them things pretty quickly. But just giving you a different idea. So when I do that, typically I will wipe my finger off on the damp paper towel. So I always get a fresh one before every project. So if you were to try something a little bit more difficult with our projects, some of them have just these sections separately and glued with tabs all the way up. I am using American Crafts textured cardstock for this. This is Crimson, my red apple. And we have barely art glue that I'm using today, but I do like art glitter glue as well. So when it comes to the end, we have 2 tabs. I didn't do 3 tabs because I'm skipping that tab regularly. So we're going to add glue to this big one and the small one. So you can start at the top or bottom. So I'm going to start at the top for this. Hold it in place. I'm just getting it anchored. Getting it lined up. Then I'm just going to reach inside. Making sure it lines up in the section too. I'm just going to run my finger over it, make sure that it's not too far past that. It's lined up with that fold. So I intended to be quick boxes, so you have 2 choices. You can glue it on the bottom. It's a matter of preference. If you want the bottom like that. If you want a little bit, if you're going to put something a little bit heavier, you might want to do it from the inside. And then just have the tab showing on the bottom, which is not a huge deal. So it's either way, but I'm going to put it on the inside for this one. Because, you know, I'm assuming people are going to give, like, fun little goodies to their favorite teachers or kids' favorite teachers, that kind of thing. So I'm just making sure the textured side up. I'm just lining it up in the middle there to the edges here. It should fit just right in like that. So just an example, we have some candy here. You see how sturdy it is. So it's a sturdy box. It's holding this. These are little Jolly Ranchers. So now we're going to do the lid. So we have this piece. So I'm going to do this stem first. And the reason I'm doing the stem first, let's put that aside. And the leaves. It's just because it'll give it time to dry a little bit. So this is, we're just going to go ahead and fold it. So it's going to fold. It's 8-sided. Where's it 8-sided? Well, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-sided. I don't know why I said 8. I did one originally 8, and I ended up with the 6. Make it a little bit easier to make without as many tabs to glue. So we're going to fold it down and then up. We're just training them because it'll glue on the inside. So we'll just go ahead and glue those down, or fold those down. Just training them. And then now we're just going to go ahead and add glue to this tab. Just folding it over. Hopefully you can see. I'm just adding glue to this tab. I can see, just don't go over the fold line. I put a little glue underneath there. We don't want that to glue together. We're going to fold it over to where it lines up. And go ahead and apply pressure. Getting some glue off my fingertips. So it's glued on the inside. So now we're just going to fold these down. Add a little glue on each of these tabs. Then we'll fold it, the top of it down. So as you fold it down, you want to just go around the edge while the glue is still wet. Make sure that the edges are lined up best you can. Once they are in place, because I just go around the edge and feel it, go ahead and flip it upside down and apply a little pressure. And if you had a tool, this is a wooden chopstick, you could go in there and just push down on the tabs. don't do anything really pointy. Make sure it has a blunt tip, but you could always cut. The other thing is if you don't have a chopstick, if you have a skewer, it's always good to go get skewers. They're pretty cheap. Wood skewers, you can use them for a lot in crafting. But I cut off the tip on this one for a project, and now it's blunt. So it does the same thing. So just a little tip. But you want to make sure that it's glued so it doesn't come apart. So, and I'm going a little bit slower than I normally would. So once you do a couple of these, it'll go super fast. So this is one where you could just do one after the other and just let them dry if you have several to do. That's what I would do at least. Now we're going to shape the leaves a little bit. So there's a couple ways you can do that. So you may have, I actually stopped to get this little flower mat. And this can be just a foam. So it could be like any craft foam or something that gives a little bit. This just happens to be a craft, like a flower mat that's came with the kit. However, I'm a proponent of you try to do anything you can without using, you don't have to get a tool for everything. So like a little craft foam, which people have around that has thickness that will give, and you can do something like this to curl it. I'm going to give you a couple ideas. So that kind of gives it a little definition. We have this embossing is a stylus. You could give it a little leaves if you want. You give it a little veins. Okay, so that one. The other thing you can do is use a tool like this. You could still curl it around. Or you could use the dowel, curl around. So anything really round. It doesn't have to be fancy, but I'm going to make these the same now that I put a little bit. I use the stylus. Sometimes I lose my words, so sorry about that. I'm going to match it up. This is a versatile tool in my opinion. I use this for a lot of things, to pick different pieces out of paper. I use it to actually do my curling. I like the wood ones because this is nice and smooth. So if I were to say if you had to have one tool, I mean this is one of my favorite tools and most useful tool actually. I'll get things like this. These are normally called clay sculptors, but a lot of people use them something similar for flower sculpting. I'm not into flower sculpting, but anyways, that's my spiel on that. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware there are several ways to do things without expensive tools or having one tool for a lot of different purposes. So now I'm going to go ahead and put that aside. But over time you do acquire things, so that's the way it is. I'm going to take this little bit of scrap paper. I'm going to use that to help me ink these. So you can take any, I sometimes use distress oxide, but I have this chalking ink that I have. I could ink it just traditionally or use a tool. So I'm going to use a little craft brush. So I use these little iCrafter finger brushes. And I like to do that to get the excess off. So this takes some practicing. So if you want to practice on something first before you put it on a final project. This is a pretty small project for me to be using this big tool. But I tend to like doing the edges of things. You just need to play around because just think about it. You don't need to get all the fancy inks. And I want to make sure that I put that across, because sometimes you don't have the money for the fancy inks, but you can get a lot of the same effects. So you could use makeup brushes, that kind of thing, to do this inking rather than using a tool like this. So, and it's very slight, but I'm just going to put a slight inking around the edge. I just like inking. So my last one, the original one I showed you, I didn't do any of this kind of thing, but it's just fun little touches. And I would normally do that if I were doing a lot of them. I'd do them all at once. So that's that. So we'll go on to putting the lid on, and then we'll be done. Or putting the lid together. So we'll put this aside, and then once the lid's together, we can attach them. So we're going to go ahead and attach these two pieces with this. So you see I skipped, there's no tab in the second one, so it's going to be just the same as the bottom. So we're just going to, for this one, I'm going to line up that inside piece first. So it'll help if you fold these, because you can see where it lines up. Because you want that tab to line up between the folds. Squares. If it's off just a little bit, the first one, if the first one's off, the rest are going to be off. So just get that first one in place. Them take a little longer than normal. This may even be too dry. Let's add a little more glue so I can continue. Because if you do this one after and you don't have that one in place down there, then it's just not going to go very well. So we'll go around and do the single tabs until we get back to this double one over here. It's two pieces, not one piece like the other one. And the reason it is just because of the shape of the lid. Couldn't do it that way very easily. So it should go together fairly quickly. Again, I have to go a little slower. Sometimes I go slow or too fast on the videos just because of the person that may be doing my project. And I want to make sure that most people, beginners to advanced, can do them. And of course, I usually along the way learn myself as I watch others or others provide me feedback, and I always welcome that. So when we get to putting these together again, I'm going to kind of fold that in so I can see it. Then line that up. I'm going to hold that a little longer than to make sure that it doesn't pull apart when you do that top tab. And if it's taking you too long, just don't put glue on that top tab until you're done with that big piece. And then I'll go ahead and finish the other two, and then we'll put the stem and leaves on. Now that we have all those top tab glued, we have these two pieces. So on the top we want to put this one with the hexagon opening. That's where we're going to attach the stem. So we're going to put it on before we do the stem. So we're going to go ahead and add glue to these tabs, being careful not to get it beyond that tab fold. So we're going to just line it up. And it's pretty flat up there, so I mean it is a flat surface. So just kind of scooch it around until it's in place. And then you can flip it upside down and apply pressure to the tabs that way. Now you could have attached this first, but it's harder to put on when you do that, so that's why I'm having you do this first. I did it both ways, and this way is the easiest way to do it. So we're just going to go ahead and fold those in, and we already trained these a little bit to go backwards, so you make sure they're trained to go backwards. Fold them in. Oops. I'm not pushing it. I'm just going to get one set first. So I'm just going to add glue to one tab. And we'll get that one in place. So we're just going to make sure that this fold, inside fold, right here, is lined up with that edge. We're going to glue the tab across from it the same way. So I'm adding glue to that little tab across. We're going to fold it down. Make sure you push it in so that that fold is lined up with the inside edge of that hexagon opening, like that. And we're going to go ahead and add glue to the rest of the tab. So I just like to do 2 at a time. It's just me, so I can make sure that it's still lining up. The fold is, the edge of this inside opening is lining up with the inside tab fold. Make sure that the outside fingers are clean, so you're not getting glue on the outside. I have a little glue. My hands are blue, if you're wondering why my hands are blue. I went somewhere and I went to a store and there was RIT dye that got that opened and I didn't notice it, so it hasn't come off my hands yet. RIT dye is strong stuff. So hopefully by tomorrow and a couple more showers we'll not see it, and a couple more hand washings, or I don't know how many more hand washings. It might take about 2 or 3 more hand washings, so maybe by tonight. So it'll be like that on the inside. And then we'll want to just add this. We're just going to add that to hide the tabs. So and then I'm holding it like that, gently, like that, between my fingertips. So this is just a fun way to gift a teacher. I know it's not like unique or anything with the, I just did my take on it with the simpler 3D apple than the one that I had already out, which is a little bit more advanced project. I had a little glue on my fingertips, so it's showing. Oops, just dropped it. There it is. So now you can go ahead and just glue them on however you like. I have this little thing right there, so I just assumed you can go one way. I mean, you could go this way if you wanted to, or go the other way. So it's up to you what you want to do, or curl it more. So you just have to make sure you hold the glue as long as you need to. So we'll go ahead and put it on like that, and then we'll call it done. So I'm just going to add a little glue down here. And if you did like this project, I always ask if you could just give me a little like or thumbs up on the video. That's always helpful. And then you can either put it on top or below or next to it. It's up to you. You could use hot glue. I mean, if you want a quicker, this is one place where I would say hot glue would be a benefit. I'm just going to put it under. But there's no rhyme or reason, whatever feels good to you. You just want to make sure it dries well so it doesn't fall off when you're taking it on and off. And then here we go. The finished box. Takes a second to get it on. So there it is. There's my little 3D red apple box, little treat box. And I hope you like it, and thank you for watching.